Welcome. My name is Sepe Wayu and I am the CEO of Divan Security. In this video, I'm going to explain how to secure a mobile application with Spring Security. I'm going to talk about the context of this project, also the problem that our fictional enterprise is facing, the solution and the business logic of this enterprise, the revocation and rotation system that I have implemented in Spring and Android, what is missing in terms of security, what is next, and finally, a conclusion. I want you to imagine that we are a multinational pharmaceutical company. The problem that this company is facing is that there is no application to deal with the process of product references in the enterprise resource planning. Why product references is so much important? Let's take the example of SAP. In SAP, for example, each product must be referenced by a unique number. This will ensure that all services are working with the same information so that there will be no duplicate value. You can imagine that for a multinational company, this process cannot be based on exchange and validation by email. It has to be automated. So they asked me as a CEO of Divine Security to build a mobile application with a strong focus on security. So I'm going to present in the next section a solution. As I said before, the company is a multinational company and is located in Ivory Coast and Switzerland, Canada, and so on. So in each country, there will be a requester, a regulatory affairs service, a purchase service, inventory planning, pricing service, and an admin. In Switzerland also, there will be a requester, a regulatory affairs service, a purchase service, inventory planning, pricing service, and admin. A request made in Ivory Coast can only be approved by one of the services, not in Switzerland. A request made by this requester can only be approved by purchase service, pricing service, admin, inventory planning, and regulatory affairs service, not in Switzerland. Also, a purchase service here cannot approve a request made in Ivory Coast. A a purchase service in Ivory Coast cannot approve a request made in Switzerland. Also, an admin here cannot approve a request made in Switzerland. The admin in Switzerland cannot approve a request made in Ivory Coast. Everything is separate. Each user here has a role defined in the database. A requester has a role general. Someone from regulatory affairs service has a role law. Someone from purchase service has a role purchase. Someone from pricing service has a role pricing, and the admin has a role admin. This is the same idea for Switzerland. Let's go in depth in the next section. For in the mobile application, it is possible to select a different type of references. If the user, for example, select type of reference B and there is a marking, it means that this request will only be available to regulatory affair service and pricing service. If there's no marking, the request will only be available to pricing. For reference C, for example, or reference D, let's take the example of reference D. For reference D, if there is a marking, the request will be available to purchase service, pricing service, regulatory affairs service, otherwise pricing and purchase service. For E, F, and G, only the pricing is involved. Let's take the example of reference D and see how the validation process will be done. So for a type reference D, if the pricing service rejected the request and also regulatory affairs service has rejected the request must be sent back to that services, regulatory affairs service and pricing service, not purchase service, because here the purchase service has already approved the request or the request is in waiting. In the case for a type reference D, there is no marking and the pricing service has rejected the request. The request may only be approved by pricing service, not purchase service, because in that case, the request has already been approved. So let's move on. So to build the mobile application, I use Android Studio, Postgre, PostgreSQL, dbeaver, Postman, Git, Redis to store our token ID and token information, IntelliJ IDS Code Editor, and Spring Boot to build our API and secure API. Sonar to SonarCube to analyze the quality of the code, and Docker also. Let's talk about now a JSON Web Token. What is a JSON Web Token? It's a standard or a protocol used to securely transmit data between two parties. A JSON Web Token is composed of three parts, either a payload and a signature. So either specify which type of algorithm is used to send the token. Also, the payload contains information about our business, for example, the issuer also, and the recipient of that token. Let's see an example of a token. Let's generate a new token. Okay, let's take this one and pass it here. As I said before, the header specify the algorithm used to send the token. This is HS256. It's a hashing algorithm. If I get time in the future, I will explain all the algorithms that I used in this project. But now let's focus on the business. So we have the subject of this in the payload. Test arrobas mail is it is the user. The issuer of the token, our our application, our Spring Boot application. A unique token ID that is has been generated using secure random. The role of this user. Also the audience, our mobile application, and the type of token is an access token. If I paste here the refresh token, you will see that here it's the refresh token. So the issue at the time at which the JSON Web Token was issued. Expiration time on or after which the JSON Web Token must not be accepted or processing. So not before. The time before which the JSON Web Token must not be accepted for processing. So this is the signature here, the payload and the header. Let's go back to our presentation. So let's talk about now the authentication. If the user send his credential, username and password, Spring will authenticate the user, verify that the username and password correspond to what it is in the database. If it is correct, the Spring will generate a new JSON Web Token, and the user will send that token in authorization header. Spring again will capture that token and process that token, verify the signature, expiration, and all the claims that you saw earlier, and construct a user detail in a security context and grant access to the data to the user. This is a basic authentication flow because in that scenario, there's only one token involved, and the expiration time of this token must be at least, I think, more than 15 minutes, and even maybe days. We don't want that. You want to use a refresh token. So I'm going to explain how I have implemented in the next section. Let's talk about our revocation system. We have our mobile application here. The user sends his email and password. Spring again will authenticate the user, verify that the user mail and password correspond. If that's okay, Spring again will store the token information in our databases here and generate a access and refresh token here for the user. The user will store the access token in sharp preferences. Usually, the sharp preference store values in clear text. But in this project, I have encrypted the access and refresh token using this algorithm. So let's continue. So this time the user has access to the token, access and refresh token. User want now to access to resource. User send the access token. Spring again will verify the the token, verify the signature, all the claims, verify also that the email of the user is present in the database. If all the verification process is okay, Spring again will send back the data to the user, and the user will be able to see the data. That's one step. So if the access token is about to expire, the user want a new must request a new access token. So you will send a refresh token, and Spring will verify the signature of that token. Also, verify all the claims that you saw earlier in that has been stored here in our database. Verify the user email here in PostgreSQL. And if that's okay, Spring then will generate a new access token. This access token will be again encrypted in sharp preferences. It will replace the previous one. But the request here does not stop. It continue. Because if it stopped here, you will not be able to see the data. So Spring here, the user here will send back the access token. And Spring again will verify the signature of this token again. And after that, verify also the presence of user email in the database. Verify also all the information that has been stored about this token in database 0. And again, after that, Spring will send the data back to the user. This is how I built this revocation system. So Let's see now in the mobile application how it works. Thank you.